So I have a really awesome privilege today to introduce maybe a program for the first time. Maybe some of you have heard of the Original Six Foundation, maybe you haven't. But I had the privilege of going to an introduction to the community that the board of the Original Six Foundation held here in Columbia last spring. And I was overwhelmed by the group that was in the room. This is an organization that was founded by Governor Haley in 2012. So with that being said, I expected maybe to go into the room and see a bunch of Republicans there. And that was not the case. In fact, the opposite was the case. It was a very bipartisan group of community leaders and business leaders from across the state that were in the room. And their goal was to be there to make South Carolina better. We have two speakers today. Casey Pash serves as the Executive Director of the Original Six Foundation. The foundation was founded, like I said, by Governor Haley in 2012. Its mission is to empower rural, economically challenged counties in the areas of workforce readiness, quality of life, and education. Casey oversees the daily operations of the organizations and works alongside the Board of Trustees to implement programs in these communities. I also want to introduce one of the Board of Trustees, Mike Sisk, who's been involved since the inception of the Original Six Foundation. He is the Executive Vice President and CFO of Ben Arnold Beverage Company. He's been involved, like I said, since its inception, and he currently serves as Treasurer on the board. Mike is also active in other community organizations, including being on the Board of Directors of the South Carolina Ports Authority and as a member of the Wells Fargo Bank Midlands Advisory Board. He has participated in many other boards, but I'll stop there. So we are going to hear from Mike first, and then Casey will also have a presentation to give. Thank you. Oh, please give us warm Spring Valley welcome to our speaker. Sorry.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you today. And Elise, thank you for the invitation. And Phil, thank you for having us as well. It's always a great pleasure for us to stand up and tell the story of the Original Six. I have to admit, when I first walked in the room, I was a little concerned that we were going to be asked to play some musical instruments. And that would have been a disaster, and I have to tell you. My son is a guitar player, and he's trying to teach me that, and it doesn't work. As Elise said, the foundation was founded by Nikki. I'm going to call her Nikki. I'm not going to call her the governor, okay? I know her as Nikki, and we know her as Nikki in our workings with her. It was founded by Nikki in 2011, 2012. And it was really founded because she is from rural South Carolina, and this is a passion for her. She grew up she was born and raised in Bamberg, then moved on to Orangeburg as a teenager. And she felt that these areas of the state were being neglected by the population in general. They needed to be lifted up and had to have some special attention. So we sort of started out with a vision that we envisioned a state where South Carolinians in every community have the tools and resources and experiences needed for each community to grow economically. And that's her passion. This is not a political organization by any stretch, and you'll see that with the composition of the board. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, black, white, all races, all gender. This is not about politics at all. And it's a passion of all of ours to try to make a difference in these communities. The Original Six Foundation, this is our mission statement. I think Elise alluded to it. We spent several meetings and many hours trying to articulate a vision that really spelled out what we're trying to do. And the Original Six Foundation empowers communities to reach their potential through facilitating collaboration, and those are important terms, in the areas of education, quality of life, community service, and workforce readiness. At the end of the day, we want these communities to be ready to accept jobs. If you look at what she's done in her first 4 years as governor, we've located companies in 45 of the 46 counties in the state of South Carolina. I don't think there's many other governors that have ever served that can say they did. So she's living this in her public service through her, she's living her private passion through her public service. Some key points related to this. We do not dictate to these communities what they need to do. We facilitate with them and we encourage them. We build on their needs and we meet with them and help them to prioritize what those needs are. Who do we serve? The foundation, when we started, we had to determine some criteria to figure out where we go first. So we decided to focus on unemployment because at the end of the day, that's where the counties that were hurting the most. And our focus is on trying to prepare them to accept jobs. So we selected the counties in descending order of the highest unemployment rate. So the first county was at Allendale, correct? So we selected several counties based on their unemployment rates. We started to go to those counties and have meetings. In case you'll get into our actual process with you guys, but that's how we selected where we go. We also selected communities that were small. We knew if we selected communities that were too large, we would begin to have mission creep, and we had a small board and a small nucleus to start with, and we wanted to stay very focused on these small communities. And we wanted communities where their leaders desire to have change. Bottom line is we wanted people that when we walked in the door would be receptive to having people listen and collaborate with them. And all of the communities we've been to have been that way. We made, like I said, we made the conscious decision to stay highly focused on these communities so that we didn't have mission creep. We didn't want to try to take on larger counties where we knew we couldn't make as big of a difference. If you look at the map, you can see these are the counties that we currently are focused on. It's 8 counties in the state, all of which had, at one time, much higher unemployment than they do now, thankfully. And they're all fairly small. So you can see, sort of going left to right, starting at the top, Union County is one of the counties we've gone to. Their current unemployment rate, 7.4% as of June. Marlboro County, 28,000 folks, 8.4% unemployment. Dillon County, which everybody's heard of Dillon County, the Board of Shame and all that. Dillon County, frankly, has been one of the most cutting-edge rural counties we've worked with. They're fantastic. 31,000 people, 8.6% unemployment. Marion County, 32,000 people, 10.1% unemployment. Clarendon County, 34,000, 8.4%. Allendale, 9,900, 10.1, and Bamberg, 15,000, 9.4, and finally Barnwell, 22,000 and 9%. So you can see these are areas that have challenges and issues, and so that's why we selected these places to go. And we're very active in these counties now, and Casey's going to step in, and she's going to explain to you exactly what our process is and sort of how we work.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having us today. And I have the opportunity to live this every single day. Thanks to our Board of Trustees, as you all serve on community boards here, and some of you even serve on the board here at Rotary. You know that the people who eat, sleep, and breathe it every day, I get paid to work and be in rural counties all over South Carolina on a daily basis. And I find that exciting because what the Original Six Foundation does is we are not an off-the-shelf nonprofit. I absolutely love the American Red Cross. I love United Way, but these national organizations have specific programs. Well, what we do is because of our mission, we focus on those 3 areas of education, quality of life, and workforce readiness. We actually go in and create things that are catered specifically to that county. So the way this process works, you probably think, well, that's crazy. You're walking into 30,000 people. Who do you find? Where do you go? So the way we really start this is we actually go in and we invite leaders to attend a meeting. And when I say a meeting, it's not like this. It's actually, we invite who we feel, I start calling, our board starts calling, we find out who the major players are. And in smaller towns, it's the city councilman, it may be the pastor at the church, because the pastor at the church may have more influence than others. It may be the local liquor store owner, because he or she might know everything that's going on in town. And so what we do is we actually bring all those leaders together and we strategically put them in a room together, which that hardly ever happens. It doesn't happen here often, even in Columbia. So we bring those leaders together and we ask them what they feel are their successes, their challenges, and how do they feel like they can overcome those. And through that whole process, it's actually a couple-hour meeting, and we end up with Post-its all over the wall, and so it's not someone being talked at, it's making them think. Well, through that process, lots of things bubble up. We start to see who the leaders are, who's doing it selflessly, who wants to just see their community grow. And so what we do is, from there, our board of directors, actually it's a working board. You think we were founded by the current governor, you think it would be an in-name only board, but it actually is a working board, and our board actually adopts one of those counties. Some of them just have one board member, most of them have two. So what happens next is we actually go into those communities and we work with those leaders, and we start to uncover great things that are happening in rural South Carolina. We start to figure out what's going on there and how we as a foundation can assist them. And so that process is very much so catered to exactly what they need. And so to give you an example of what some of our programming is, after we have this big leaders meeting, we have introduced ourselves to the community with a free health and job fair. It's amazing what you can do for communities that don't have access to just small things. Like, we take it for granted that we have a great institutions in our city, and that we can go, if we need help with a resume, we know someone to do it. Well, these people have no idea where to turn. And so we do a big health and job fair. We've seen over 6,000 people at these. We also, to give you an example, one of the counties that we went to, Marion County, didn't have books. That's what they asked for in their leaders meeting. They said, we just don't have books. Well, believe it or not, it kind of breaks my heart, because I grew up as a child and I had a book. I had tons of books, and if I wanted a book, I knew my mom would always buy me a book at Walmart. That was like one thing. She may not buy me a toy, but she'd buy me a book. And so I was fortunate in growing up like that, but these children didn't have books. So we called last August to our neighbors all across the state and had over 20,000 gently used children's books donated. I'm going to tell you all do community service, so you understand that. 20,000 books weigh a lot. So I got my workout in while working for the original 6. And then from there, we distributed those, and because we received an overwhelming response in those books, we then were able to give it to all of the counties and partnered with AT&T, and every library in our 8 counties received over $2,000 worth of new books. They got to put together a wish list of what they wanted. And then we have worked with the Allendale Town Council. You and I operate, how many people have, you all have phones that tell you absolutely everything. Some of you may be walking with a phone, an iPad, and a laptop all in your bag today. Well, unfortunately, in rural South Carolina, people aren't as connected as you and I are here in the city, and so they find out their news. They don't find out what's coming up. They found out what happened a week ago, because they have a weekly paper that's free that they pick up at the Dollar General, and that's how they get communicated to. So we partnered with the Allendale Town Council. We put in, and Verizon Wireless, we put in an electronic digital billboard right in the heart of Allendale, where they have renovated a park, and it's right next to the liquor store and parties where everybody goes. So now the town can get the information out about PTO meetings, when the food bank is coming, free GEDs. So that information is now, in a timely manner, can get out to the community versus waiting forever to get the local paper, and they're just covering what happened 2 weeks ago versus what's coming up. Also, we have been working with all 8 counties on a GED front. It's important that we have a workforce readiness as part of our mission, and some of the GED centers in some of our communities struggle with getting the message out. Right now in the state of South Carolina, if you want your GED, you can get it for free, and not many people know that. And so we have been partnering with those leaders in all 8 of those counties. Also, transportation is a huge issue to get students adult students to these centers. And Mike's county that he works on is Clarendon, and we're in the process of doing a feasibility study of if they have their own van, or if they partnered with the local school districts to transport students to and from to get their GEDs. And so we do a wide variety of things. I will tell you I'm a Red warrior because I'm on the Red with our board of directors. And if there's a McDonald's with Wi-Fi, I feel very blessed if I can swing in and check my email and get some emails out. But while I'm there, I remember that these people, they want to take what they're doing from good to great. And sometimes you just don't know what you don't have until somebody tells you what you don't have. And I'm going to tell you a story about Miss Virginia, and you're actually going to get to meet Miss Virginia in a video in just a minute. And Miss Virginia is in Marlboro County, and she is very fierce. She's a hard worker, but I don't know how many times she's left the county lines of Marlboro County. I'm just being very honest. Miss Virginia's probably 75 years old. They've brought her out of retirement, I think 2 or 3 times at this point. She told me she's leaving February 1. We'll see if it really happens. Miss Virginia is the librarian in Marlboro. She works tirelessly for her community. The library is the hub. People don't have computers. They don't have internet in their homes. So everything you need today, you have to buy online. So everybody comes there. Miss Virginia knows everything that's going on. Well, a couple months ago, back in the spring, I was there, and I stopped by to see her to talk about something. She said, come into my office. So I walk into her office, and I look into the corner is a stack of Dell laptop computers. And I said, Miss Virginia, what are those for? And she looks at me and she goes, that's for my bookmobile. I said, well, you have a bookmobile out back. She said, oh, that thing doesn't work. It hadn't worked for years. I said, well, what are you going to do with these? In my mind, I'm going, not really sure where she's going, but I know that Miss Virginia is very driven. She looks at me and she says, I think at the time it was 90,000 of 160,000 I've got to raise, and I'm going to get me a Sprinter van, and it's going to be a Wi-Fi hotspot that drives to the towns in Marlboro County. I look at her and I said, you know, are you aware that Sprinter vans are manufactured right here in North Charleston? She had no idea that we in our state manufacture Sprinter vans. She also didn't realize that the Sprinter van, one has a Mercedes logo and one has a Freightliner logo, and it's this exact same vehicle. She had no idea. So I tell her this, and she goes, well, Casey, I'm going to get there. I'm at 90,000. I said, I have no doubt that you're going to get there. Well, through that, she's doing something good. She's going to take out these laptops. They're going to do camp-ready camps for preschool-age children in all the towns in Marlboro because transportation is an issue for people to get to the library. Sure enough, Miss Virginia, I said, let me see what I can do. I can call Daimler, see if there's a process. Even if we can just get a van at cost or at discount, you know, let me see what we can do. Well, as of today, Miss Virginia has raised $165,000. And she is getting a discount from Daimler, so all of the extra leftover funds will be used for technology, more books, and educating those kids. All simply because Miss Virginia didn't realize that Daimler vans are manufactured in South Carolina. So we become those trusted resources on how to take what they're already doing from good to great and great to excellent. So you probably ask, well, how are you funded? How did this start? Well, I have a prop over there. I have a book. I forgot to bring it up to the podium, but the governor wrote a book. And when she wanted to give the funds from the book, she started looking at rural South Carolina. And there's not nonprofits on every corner like there is here in Columbia. We are very fortunate to live in a community where if we know that a child needs shoes, we pick up the phone we call Inner Soul, and we can get that child shoes. If we know that someone needs a homeless shelter, we pick up the phone and we call the Oliver Gospel Mission or Christ Central or Hannah House or somewhere. We're very fortunate to live in a town where there are agencies available. Well, in these communities, there wasn't anything available, and she kept going back, this is where I grew up, this is where I want to make an impact. So she herself, through her inaugural and her book, have donated over $400,000. But basically what we do is we're just like any other nonprofit. We write grants. We work with companies such as Daimler and Verizon to get these communities what they need. And a lot of times corporations, due to their corporate responsibility, they want to give back in rural communities, rural America. And a lot of times there aren't 501c3s to give back. I'll give you the example of Dollar General. We worked with them to put new computers in their GED center. The Dollar General Literacy Foundation has a distribution center in Union County. They have been looking for an avenue. They have been earmarking money for years to give money in Union County to a nonprofit who will help in the area of adult or children literacy. Well, I called my friend Deneen. I've known Deneen. I'm a transplant from Tennessee. And So 2 years ago, I called Deneen and she goes, I've known her from my previous life. She said, you have to be kidding me. She said, we have been earmarking money in union every year and I can't find an avenue to give it. So now we work with Dollar General Literacy Foundation because they want to give back to their employees in their community. So what we have found is these companies give, individuals give, and just so you all know, we operate, we raise about $400,000 to $500,000 a year. That's where we are. And 47% comes from individual and corporate sponsorships, and most importantly, 75% of every dollar goes back to rural South Carolina. So I want to show you a video at this time. So sit back, relax. It's about a 4-minute video, and this will really show you what we really do. Mike and I can sit up here and talk to you all day long, but to see it on a video kind of proves it all. It's very, very real.
I think the Original Six Foundation has had a significant impact in these underserved communities. I think it has inspired these communities, it has given them hope, and it has given them encouragement. And I think that's really important.
There are those rural areas that by one reason or another have almost been forgotten in time. So as you go back in there and you see the Original Six Foundation putting feet forward, putting boots on the ground, investing in the community, you begin to create a sense of unity.
Some of these areas, there are not many dentists because, you know, it is an underserved area. But when I call on them, they're more than happy to volunteer and give back to the community, which has given so much to them.
The Original Six came in August this past year and did a county-wide back-to-school special. And then through that, we made a partnership with Original Six, and they have recently given us money and purchased us computers to use for our literacy students.
I was pleasantly surprised when the Original Six Foundation said that they were willing to give us donated books from across South Carolina, and I think it was over 2,000. And then the Original Six Foundation bought each child a brand new book.
My wife and I have chosen to support the Original Six Foundation, both as a volunteer and a donor.
When you give money, you basically are acknowledging that you endorse the organization, and while giving money is far from the hardest part, it's essential to making an organization work.
We've been fortunate enough to be in a position to help out financially, and perhaps we will be able, by doing that, we'll be able to change the lives of some of these families in the rural, underserved areas of the state of South Carolina.
The donation of books from children all across South Carolina is a perfect example of neighbors helping neighbors.
Your neighbors aren't just necessarily the person next door, they're the person in the county next door to you or the county 2 counties away. We're a small state, we're a family.
They helped us get these computers when we were unable to do it, and we encourage you to continue to do the same to help other rural counties like Union.
We must work together to strengthen South Carolina. We must do it not only for ourselves, but we must do it for our future, our children, and their children to come.
Well, as you saw, those are some of the people I had already talked about, and that is the true impact that the organization is making. And you think I'm going to ask for money here? I'm really not, but I will tell you how you can help. We are only in South Carolina we're only as strong as our weakest county. And so, as Mikey Johnson said in the video, it's not just about helping our neighbor down the street. It's about how other South Carolinians, neighbors helping neighbors. So it's about that person in Greenville who knows that they have to help that person in Union just because they simply don't know. Or it's about us here in Columbia helping those people in Bamberg, Barnwell, or Allendale. So we would love for you all to get involved in some way, form, or fashion. It can be simply as signing up for our monthly newsletter for email. It's 1 email a month, and that is it. So we will be very sensitive to that. We'd love for you to sign up. You can do that on our website. Also, you can sign up to volunteer. You can send an email to on the website, you can sign up to volunteer. We are always looking for people to volunteer their time. You saw Dr. Javelin. He's a dentist in town. He's a retired dentist. They brought him back to do children's dentistry, and he comes to every county that I ask him to come to. It doesn't matter if it's 2.5 hours away on Saturday morning at 6 a.m., he's there. And so if it's something that interests you to volunteer and go see some of these communities, we would welcome that. Also, if you, obviously, I would be remiss if there is a corporate opportunity or an individual opportunity, we would love to have that conversation. And just so you all know, we talk about who supports us, and so I did want to put some of the bigger companies up there that do support us on a daily basis. And lastly, Mike mentioned this, our board is not an in-name-only board. Our board actually adopts counties, and they work. I'm sure they dread the email from me going, we're scheduling our second quarter visits to our counties, and they have to mark out a whole day to go visit, whether that's in Clarendon, Marion, you name it, but they really take the time to go mentor these communities. And my favorite story, probably as of today, Mike alluded to this, Dillon County has a lot of stuff going on, but that's on 95, and we know that. I don't even like to use that phrase that people call 95, that corridor. I don't even want to use the word, because Dillon County is thriving and they are doing great things. Well, we were meeting with some leaders about 6 months ago, and we said, what can we do to help? They simply looked at me, they looked at my 2 board members that were with me and said, I've looked at your board of directors. I know they run companies in South Carolina. I know that they're recruiting employees in South Carolina. We simply want them to review our economic development plan. We went up there, we took a whole team of CEOs, about 6 of them from South Carolina. Some of them weren't even on our board. They met with them for 3 hours and opened the door and said, ask whatever you want to ask. We do business in South Carolina, and we want to help you recruit the best businesses in South Carolina. Not because of that meeting, they actually just announced several jobs there coming for an aerospace company, but just the confidence that these CEOs instilled in these local leaders makes a difference, because someone outside of Dillon County cared enough to come and talk to them about recruiting businesses, keeping a workforce, and truly caring about their neighbor. It's a lot to ask a CEO to go and take a whole day to drive to Dillon and then in return not get anything out of it. But to know at the end of the day, those leaders feel more empowered and know that there's a trusted source who cares about them and just doesn't think they're on that corridor of you know what. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're making a difference in rural South Carolina, and we would ask that you would join us. And at this time, I'm going to open up for any questions. And my contact, Elise has my contact, and we do have a website, theoriginal6foundation.org. Yes?
I was very curious where the name came from.
The name actually came from, so here's the story on the name. I'm going back. The name of the original 6 Foundation came from those 6 people right there. The governor, when she wrote her book, and it's in her book, they called themselves the original 6. They were the only Indian family in Bamberg, and so they band together as the original 6 to start a business in their own home. And so that's where the name of the original 6 Foundation came from. And you can't see our logo there, but it's actually the shadow by the palmetto tree, or 6 people holding hands. So that's where the name came from.
I'm surprised about Union County. I thought way back I assisted Union County for the industrial park when Carroll Cab brought BMW. What's happening?
Union County, a lot of the textiles obviously moved out, but it's actually growing right now. They have two tier A suppliers to BMW. I think it's just part of the economic recession. Union's one that surprised us that it was in the top 10 because it is so close to Spartanburg, Charlotte, Columbia. You could get anywhere within an hour, hour and 10 minutes to go to work. It really surprised us in Union. And not many places, if you think about Union has the school district that's all consolidated. So it's one school district. So a child can go to kindergarten there. Then they can go to the Advanced Technology Center there and get do their first 2 years of college or get a technical degree. Or they can go to USC Union and now get a 4-year degree, all in Union County. But we were really surprised about Union, but I think we're starting to see a turnaround in Union. It's one of our bright spots. There's a lot of leaders there that are doing a lot of great things. And their superintendent there has really done a great job with training the future workforce, and she gets that, so she understands that she's got to have those kids have to be employees at these jobs that are coming there as a result of BMW. Any other questions? Okay, well, I have a quiz because I'm going to give away this book. I'm not taking it back to the office, okay? Can anybody name 4 counties that we're involved in? Not all at once. Ooh. Oh, you raised your hand.
Dillon, Union, Bamberg, and Clare.
Yes. You can have the book. Read the book. It's really, we always bring it as a tool, but read it. It's a great quick read. So if you haven't bought it, it's on Amazon for really cheap, but it does, it's a quick read, and all the proceeds actually benefit our organization. Any other questions? I'll turn it back over to you, Phil. Thanks for having us.